July 2024 will be remembered as one of the darkest days in the history of Bangladesh. But it was also the day when the youth of this country took charge. What began as a students' protest soon turned into one of the biggest uprisings against the government in recent times. We made a video on this very important movement where we discussed what triggered this revolt and how this is much bigger than any other movement of the past. In today's episode, we will talk to some student leaders and young activists who have been at the forefront of this revolution to find out where they go from here. And before we begin, do send in your video entries for our contest by following the instructions in the description. Also, if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe so that you never miss an update from us. Hi, I'm your host, and this is Gravitas Plus. So let's start with the man of the moment, Mr. Arafat Reza, a student leader of Dhaka University Central Students Union, DUKSU. Thank you very much for being here, sir. Can you tell us, how did you get involved in politics? When did you join DUKSU? What is your position in the organization? Well, actually, I started my activism long before I became a student leader. As a school student, I used to participate in different social and cultural activities, and when I joined Dhaka University, I carried that passion forward. So I was elected as the General Secretary of the Dhaka University Central Students Union in the last DUKSU election. And right now I'm serving as the acting president because the regular president is suspended from the university. So there has been a lot of speculation that this movement was engineered by DUKSU. How would you respond to that? Well, first of all, I don't think this movement was led by any particular group or organization. Rather, this was a spontaneous outburst by the students against the violence unleashed on them by the ruling party men. So to say that DUKSU led the movement, I think that statement is not accurate. The incident that you're referring to happened during a program organized by a teachers' association. And what happened on that day was not only barbaric, it was unprecedented. Ruling party men attacked the university campus, beat up students and teachers, and even tried to torch the historic Aparajita Bangla, which is the students' union building. And what you saw after that was a natural reaction by the students and teachers. They were forced to defend themselves. So the attack on July was not just an attack on a teachers' association, it was an attack on the entire academic community of the university. And that is why teachers and students across all the campuses stood up against the perpetrators. The response from the rest of the country was also overwhelming. That is when the movement sort of spiraled and took on its own momentum. So what exactly triggered this revolt? Was it only the attack on the academics? Well, not really. I mean, that was the immediate trigger. But what you have to understand is that this had been brewing for quite some time. Ever since Sheikh Hasina came to power in 2009, her party men have unleashed a reign of terror on campuses across Bangladesh. Whether it is Rajshahi University, or Khulna University, or Jahangirnagar University, the ruling party goons have tried to capture the students' unions in almost all the public universities. The entire education sector has been destroyed in the last 15 years. Private universities have sprung up everywhere, but the quality of education has fallen sharply. Even the public is not happy with the way things are going in the education sector. So this unrest was a long time coming. What happened in July was like the final straw. But then how did this movement gain such momentum? This is a very interesting question because when you look at the numbers, it is hard to believe that something like this could happen in Bangladesh. Let me explain. There are more than 50,000 educational institutions in Bangladesh, but the number of students participating in this movement is less than 100. It may seem like a small number, but these students managed to shut down the entire country. This tells you how powerful these young people are. But then how did they manage to do that? What kind of planning and strategy was involved here? If you look at the way this movement unfolded, there is no evidence of any pre-planned strategy. This was a spontaneous reaction to the unfolding situation. What I can say with confidence is that these young people are better equipped than their predecessors. They use modern tools and technology to communicate and organize themselves. Social media has played a big role in amplifying their message. And once their videos and images went viral, more and more people started joining the movement. But how long can this movement continue, and what do the students want? The future course of this movement will depend on two factors. One is the level of support from the people. If the people continue to back them, I am confident that the movement will grow from strength to strength. The second factor is the response from the government. If the demands of the students are met, then the movement may lose steam. But if the government tries to crack it down, then this may turn into a long-term movement. As far as the demands are concerned, the students have three main: punish the perpetrators of the July 31st violence, restore the education sector in Bangladesh, and ensure a level playing field for all political parties in the upcoming elections. We know that the opposition parties are trying to form a grand alliance to keep Sheikh Hasina out of power. Do you think the youth will play an important role in this alliance? Well, the role of the youth in this movement has been immense. You saw how enthusiastic young people came out on the streets, defied the police barricades, and stood up against the ruling party men. So the youth of Bangladesh is definitely fed up with Sheikh Hasina's misrule. The question is how they can channel this anger and frustration into votes. One of the biggest problems with young politicians in Bangladesh is that they lack experience. Take the last national election, for example. All the young candidates who contested as independents either lost the election or were forced to withdraw their nominations. So while the youth may be able to create a lot of noise, whether they can translate that into electoral success is a million-dollar question. Which brings me to my next question. What do you think are the challenges and opportunities for young politicians in Bangladesh? Well, both. There is a lot of enthusiasm among the youth to serve their country, but there is also a lot of naivety. Young politicians need to understand that the mainstream parties are deeply entrenched in the system and they won't give up power easily. So young politicians need to be well organized and strategize properly if they want to succeed. At the same time, they need to be prepared for setbacks. Politics is not a bed of roses, and young people need to be mentally prepared for that. Last but not the least, I have a request for you. Our contest is still on, and we encourage young people like you to send us your video entries. How has this movement affected you? What do you think of the current political situation in Bangladesh? Send us your entries by following the instructions in the description. Who knows, you could win an exciting prize and be featured on our platform. Thank you so much for watching us and for your valuable comments. Keep them coming. We will be back tomorrow with another video. Until then, take care